We will move onwards then into our next page, another page of people, this time crew and departments. Let's quickly talk about our crew. And in fact, often when we talk about people in movies, we often link two terms together, cast and crew. Cast being the people in front of the camera, people you can see, like me right now, and the crew, the people behind the camera, the people you don't see, who are also very responsible for making different elements of the movie. In this case, the crew are responsible for the technical aspects of the movie, the lights, the sound, and as we take a look at the next point, they work in different departments, so again, more things they are responsible for: lighting, makeup, costume, stunts, and indeed sound. And it's worth mentioning that at award shows like the Oscars, very famous American award show in Hollywood, the different crew and departments can win coveted awards, which means they are awards that people really want. And these awards can be best sound design, literally the best sound that was made in a movie, the best makeup. And in fact, if we take a look at our picture over here, we see an actress. Presumably, she's being made up by a makeup artist who's applying makeup to the actress so that she looks a certain way on camera in her next scene. Very important for sure, and they can win awards for this. And for example, best costume design. Let me use a different line there for that. There we go. Best costume design. Costumes are the clothes, any piece of clothing worn by people in a movie. And they can be really spectacular or maybe more subtle as well. A movie, of course, does need a lot of practical people. People who can do practical things, make things, use their hands. So, for example, painters and carpenters have, since the beginning of filmmaking, been very important crew members on any movie. They can make movie sets. We'll talk about what a set is on another slide. Before we do anything else, though, indeed, again, let's recap our vocabulary. Crew, department, costume, stunts, and coveted. Actually, just quickly, let me go over stunts before we move on. Some of you may already know what a stunt is, maybe not, though it is very specific. A stunt is a piece of physical action in a movie, like someone falling down some stairs, or someone jumping out of a moving car, or even just having a fist fight. Those are usually classified as stunts. Normally, a stunt is done by a professional stuntman or stuntwoman who will replace the actor or actress who is meant to be doing the stunt. Some actors and actresses do their own stunts, like Tom Cruise very famously often does his own stunts, but normally, so we don't endanger the actor or actress, we replace them with a stuntman or stuntwoman, so they fall out of the moving car, they fall down the stairs or have the fight instead. And it's it's quite a dangerous, risky business, but it can look amazing on camera. Okay, let's move on again. Here we're getting into some really important technical terms. Again, words that we use a lot in conversation about movies, words that we've learned over the years as moviegoers that are part of the filmmaking process, part of the language of cinema. Related to what we talked about earlier, dialogue refers to the words spoken on screen by the actors. We find the dialogue in the script. So when anyone is talking in a movie, they're speaking dialogue that the writer has written in the script. And again, we'll talk later on about how we use that in conversation, but it's a very useful term, dialogue. Also a very useful term, a scene. A scene is a sequence of either action, in other words, things happening, people doing things, or a sequence of dialogue, people saying things to themselves or normally to each other. Now, a movie is normally made up of many scenes. Some movies have a lot of scenes in them. Again, Lord of the Rings movies have a lot of scenes. Some movies maybe just have a few scenes, or maybe 2 or 3 quite long scenes in one place. And again, we find our scenes in the script. And actually, people are more aware these days that a lot of movies have more scenes than are actually in the final movie. Those are known as deleted scenes. They're scenes that were made for the movie but didn't actually go into the final product. They were taken out normally for reasons of time, so the movie isn't too long. Next up, again related to what we talked about earlier with our composer and our score, we have soundtrack. Now the soundtrack is the music used in a movie. That could be the music created specifically for the movie, the score, or existing music tracks, or both. When it comes to existing tracks, a director or somebody else might choose well-known or maybe less well-known famous tracks, like a Michael Jackson track, or just a track by a famous pop star, a song by a famous pop star, and they put it into the movie. And the soundtrack is all of that music together. And often, normally, you can actually buy a movie soundtrack after a movie has been released. And there are some really fantastic soundtracks out there. Here's another very important word. A shot is a piece of footage captured from one specific angle or one place continuously by one camera. So no stopping, it's all that continuous footage. Let's take a look at our picture over here to get an idea of what we mean. We've got our director or cameraman. He's got his camera. Right now, he's getting a shot of these people in this field. His camera is in one place, one angle, shooting continuously. When he stops filming, and maybe he moves his camera, let's say he moves it over here, and he starts filming these people from that place or that angle, he's getting a different shot. And again, like all of these terms, we use them a lot in conversation. You might say, I love that shot of those people in that field. I love that shot from above of the car in the snow. So shot is a very, very useful term indeed. Next up, also useful, we have the word location. A location is a real place where a scene is filmed, like a forest or a castle, or in this case, in this picture, a field. Also worth mentioning that we use the preposition on. We talk about something being filmed on location. We don't say in a location, we say on location. So these people in this picture are on location. Maybe somewhere like North America or Africa, perhaps. They are on location. Now, shooting on location is time-consuming, it's expensive, it takes a lot of organization. So instead, what most movies do is instead film on a set. We talked a little bit about this earlier, how painters and carpenters make a set. A set is a false environment, normally built out of wood because it's light and it's cheap. You can take it down and put it up very quickly, and it's intended to replicate a real place or a real environment. Now, with outdoor places like a field like this, it can be difficult to build a set to replicate that. So often people will go to the location to do that. But when we're in a building, like a restaurant, often rather than going on location to a real restaurant, we build a set instead. Our carpenters, our painters, they will build out of wood what looks like a real restaurant. They make it look as real as possible. Now, where they build it is another thing entirely. We'll take a look at that idea in just a moment. First of all, though, again, let's quickly go through the vocabulary. Dialogue, scene, soundtrack, shot, location, set. Okay, let's take a look at our next page of technical terms. And like we mentioned just now, when we have our set, we often build a set in a soundstage. A soundstage is a huge building with a single large interior space, which movie sets are built in. Actually, if you take a look at the picture over here, these people are dancing in or on, I think both prepositions are fine, in or on a massive soundstage. So it's this one big building with a big room inside. Up above, we can hang our big movie lights. We've got room for people. We've got room for sets. And probably back here, we've got room for the crew with their cameras and their sound microphones and so on. And these buildings are huge. Most modern movies are shot on a soundstage. In fact, for about 100 years, movies have used these big sound stages. Next of all, an interesting piece of film technology is the green screen. Quite simply, it is a large sheet of green material. It's used as a background to film people and things against, and it allows us to add separately filmed in images later to it. Again, if we look at our picture, we've got some dancers here, and behind them is a green screen. You guys might know this already, in fact, because, like I said, people are very aware of the process of filmmaking these days. If you're not aware of it, though, the green screen allows us to film people and things, and then later we take other images and we put them in, and it replaces the green screen. I think green is used because it's generally uncommon to find it as a color in a movie, so normally you tell a computer to replace all of that color with whatever image you like. And it's worth mentioning, going to our next point, that the image we add is often computer generated. We generally use the letters CG. The term CG does indeed stand for computer generated, and it refers to any computer generated imagery. Of course, these days it's become more and more common to rely on computers to create fake environments, people, things, helicopters, animals, whatever you want, make it on the computer, add it into the film later. Often, to make that easier, they do use the green screen, which allows us more easily to put other objects in later. However, sometimes CG is difficult to make, it's expensive as well, and again, we'll talk a bit about that later on as to how we use that in conversation. Also related to CG is 3D. 3D is very modern, very recent modern technology that allows moviegoers to see a movie beyond a single flat dimension. I should say it's 2 dimensions, really. We'll think about it as a single thing for now, though. You see a movie on a screen like this, it's flat. With 3D, when you watch it, especially in a movie theater, you really feel like objects are here or back here in different places, rather than just on that flat screen. And again, normally with 3D, we do definitely need computers to help us with that. Whether we use computer-generated imagery or not, doesn't matter. You need computers to help make 3D. With all of that together, a lot of movies, like Avatar, are made using a lot of CG and are shot in 3D. Avatar came out maybe 10 years ago now, a James Cameron movie, I think the very first film to be made fully with 3D and CG. Very, very colorful computer-generated movie. I think they're going to make more of those very soon. Some sequels, we mentioned sequels earlier, so Avatar will have maybe 3 or 4 different sequels coming out quite soon. Okay, let's recap our very important vocab here before we move on. Soundstage, green screen, CG, 3D, and dimension as well. Dimension is what the D stands for in 3D, 3 dimension.